Welcome to Wargaming Recon. I am your host, Jonathan J. Reinhardt. Wargaming Recon is the only member of the TSR Podcast Network to discuss historical and New England gaming. This is episode 169, Council of Five Nations 2016. So, whether you're new or longtime listeners alike, you know or should know the deal. We talk about a lot of stuff here on the show, and I don't expect you to remember it all, but that's why we have a link to the show notes. We have all the things we cover in the show notes, and so you can easily find them. You can click into there, get the links, and get more information. Just go to wargamingrecon.com/WR169, wargamingrecon.com/WR169. So for this episode, I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you today?
I'm good, Jonathan. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It's kind of crazy around here. We were saying before we started recording that my daughter is sick, and I know you've had kind of some crazy scheduling and a lot of stuff going on this week. So I think it's been hectic for both of us.
Yeah, there's always something going on.
And I'm looking forward to when we're done recording, although I'm looking forward to the recording, of course, but after, I'm actually going to be able to get out and go gaming, which I don't normally get to do. So it should be fun to go and I don't really know what we're playing, board games or something is my guess, but go to the local game store and do some of that and hang out and have some fun.
I'm a little jealous, Jonathan.
Don't be. It doesn't happen very often, I assure you.
Well, I don't like to miss out on any games.
Well, speaking of gaming, you just came back, what was it, last weekend or the weekend before, from a lot of fun at Council of Five Nations, right?
Yeah, I had a ball. It's a nice con. I got to get you out there sometime.
So that's out in, what is it, Schenectady?
Schenectady, New York, yeah.
It's at the, let me see if I get my notes right, the Proctor's Theater and Conference Center.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool place, old Vaudeville Hall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd like to see a performance of something there someday. I'm going to see if I can get the wife to come out with me.
I wonder what kind of stuff they do there.
I do all kinds of stuff. I don't have the brochure in front of me, but I brought it home. I'm trying to get the wife to check it out. Maybe we'll go see Wicked, a Broadway show.
I've heard wonderful things about Wicked.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. She likes witches, so I think we got a shot at that one.
Oh, it sounds like a win-win.
Yeah, I think. We'll see.
Good music. I love a good musical, but I know not everyone does.
Yeah, I'm not a big musical fan, but once you get me in the seat, I usually enjoy it.
There's something about the theater, just the atmosphere. You see people on stage and they know what they're supposed to do, but they have to adapt because if they can tell the audience isn't really grooving into it, they need to kind of make it a little more exciting or interesting and quick on their feet. And a lot of improv that happens there too.
Just like a GM.
Yeah. So speaking of GMs and everything, you were at Council of Five Nations. Why don't you talk about it? Because I know not everyone is familiar with it, and I've never been, but I've heard you mention it and say, oh, I'm going to Council. I have a really good time. And that's about all I know about it. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what it is and when they normally have it and that kind of stuff?
Well, they used to have it on Columbus Day weekend, but it seems like there's a lot of other things that go on up there on that weekend. So now they're a little more loose. They don't pick that specific weekend necessarily, but it's going to be around that time of year. So like next year, it might be a week later than it was this year. But which I missed having that Monday off because I got to go to work when I get home after Sunday. But that's okay. I still had a good time. The Friday night I didn't go because I didn't want to pay 2 nights for a room. That's how cheap I am. So I left early Saturday morning. And they had everything ready for me. I had a nice table set up. I had right out in the I don't know what they call that area, but it's kind of like the entryway into Proctor's. And I got plenty of tables and everything I needed. It was really set up really nice. And so I had the whole first session to myself to set my game up. I ran hang high. What is it? I can't even remember the name of my game, Jonathan. Return of the Hang High Dragon. And then in the evening, I ran Battle of Hang High, which you played. And then, what was it? Sunday morning, I left the game set up overnight. So Sunday morning, Jennifer Paperman helped Allie on half the table so I could pick up half the game and get out early. Plus, she put me into the game because there was an extra ticket, so I got to play. And I had a lot of fun. I still don't have a clue how to play Belt Valley, but I'm learning. You know, it was kind of neat. It was a good game, not bad. I don't know what else went on because I was at my table the whole time. But I did run around, take a decent amount of pictures. I got a little picture album up on the Barbarians page, and I know there's a lot of good stuff that goes on there. I just didn't get a chance to see it. Downstairs, they had a bolt action tournament, and I didn't get to see any of that. I know there was a gladiator game downstairs that I wanted to see. Never got down there. Missed the auction. That's probably a good thing. I got enough stuff. And I know Andre Krupa was there, and he ran his role-playing thing all weekend, which I didn't even run into him because he's just like me. He's busy all weekend. So we ended up just saying hi to each other basically over the internet, never even ran into each other. They had a big Star Trek thing going on there that I didn't see that either. But you know, I'm in the miniatures area, you know, and they were all over the place. They even have room to expand. It's and the other thing I really liked was this is the first time I did this. The Parker Inn is attached right to the Proctor. So all I had to do was walk across the hallway to go to my hotel room, jump in the elevator, bang, I'm there. I hope I get to do that again next year. That was nice, real convenient. And that's about all I got to report, other than what happened in my game. It was pretty wild. I had a couple of young kids in the game and an adult, and who's been playing for quite a few years. He's actually not a kid anymore, but he played, and I didn't have as big a crowd as I wanted to have. So I asked everybody if they wanted to run 2 characters. So I went from 4 players to 8, and that worked out pretty good. And then when I brought the Hang High Dragon onto the table, James blurted out, "We're all gonna die," and I thought that was pretty funny. So the game just went crazy from there. When I got down to the end to calculate who was the winner, Earl Zoe came up with a big stack of artifact cards and a whole bunch of cash, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea that was going on. She basically slaughtered everybody, and we didn't even know she was doing that. So good job by Zoe, who actually in the game was Esmeralda, the warrior princess. That was she requested that last time she played, so that's her ongoing character until she wants to change it to something else. So I did bring up the chronological listing of all the games that were there. We could zoom through that if you want, but I didn't get to play anything else like I usually do because I was too busy, and I had a ball.
I noticed on their website they list that this was the 39th year they've run it. And
yeah, I haven't gone anywhere near that many times, but yeah.
Well, I was just fascinated because a lot of these conventions, it doesn't matter how good they are, you either need to really get a lot bigger or stay really small, or you don't stick around. And so just the fact that it's been around, not even just 1 or 2 or 3 years, but like 39, I mean, goodness, that's a lot of years.
Yeah, I think they've had their ups and downs over the years, but they keep plugging away. It's a great club. Most people are really a lot of fun to hang out with.
Well, it's kind of
David Chang is really the guy behind all that, but I think he's passing the baton pretty soon, or maybe next year.
it's a lot of
But
work to do anything like this. I mean, even on a smaller scale. So I give them a lot of credit.
I can't imagine this is just just all this stuff that you put up on the websites just to keep all that stuff straight. That's why I kind of you got to cut these people that run these cons a little slack. It's not their job. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like a side job for them. And if they make a mistake, that's not something they do every day. Things are not going to be perfect. They come pretty close though. Total Con and Hazard and Havoc, they all do a great job. The OGC, A lot of fun. I love these cons. I probably forgot. Oh, Carnage. Yeah, can't wait to get up there. That's a blast. I haven't missed one of those yet either.
I was trying to educate myself a little bit more about Council before we were recording today. And so I'm spending some time on the website and I'm looking and just trying to figure out like all the details. Where is it? When is it? I mean, this year it was September 23rd to the 25th. And like the pricing and all that kind of stuff, I was particularly interested in, not just because, I mean, if you go to enough of these things and if they cost a lot, you're not going to be able to go to them anymore because, I mean, it all adds up. But because recently TotalCon announced a major change regarding the pricing for their convention, and I was kind of curious to see what other local, like New England-ish, Mid-Atlantic kind of conventions, what they do for the pricing. And so I noticed on the council website that they give what I'm going to call a pre-reg price of $30 for the weekend. They have like a deadline, but it's basically pre-registration, I think. If you're at the door, it's $37. And I thought, oh, that's really cheap, right? And then I happen to notice that there's a price to pay in every event. And I presume that means they do a ticket structure where you buy event tickets or something.
That's right. That's
okay.
right. And then I pass. They give me an envelope, and everybody in the game gives me their ticket, and I put an envelope and pass it back to them.
That's kind of like how TotalCon used to do it before the big change. What do you think about the pricing model of doing like a ticket-based system or an all-inclusive system where you pay one price and you get in and you don't have to pay per event, or you pay a lower price but then you pay per usage?
Well, lately I haven't really been playing games. I've mostly been running them, so it doesn't really make any difference to me. I guess it's whatever works for them. I don't really pay much attention to that stuff. They're lucky if they even get the tickets from me. I mean, one thing I remember Dave mentioned to me once. Sometimes I have a lot of people in the game and there aren't enough tickets, but I'll still let someone play anyway. So just give me $2 and I'll throw that in the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really change anything for me. I know. I guess if I was a player, I'd be thinking, well, geez, I'd just like to pay the whole price, and that would be it. But then on the other hand, if they had to raise the price for the whole con, and you only wanted to play one game, then I guess you'd be paying more than just $2. So I don't know. I guess it's however you look at it personally, it doesn't really make any difference to me at all.
I'm kind of on the fence about it because on the one hand, if there's a lower entry fee, I'm more likely to give a convention a try and say, I don't know anything about it, but especially if I don't have to pay for a hotel room, if it's close enough that I can go and come back, I'm more likely to just say, okay, we'll go, we'll see what it's like. Maybe it'll be something that I love, and then I'm going to want to go back, again next year. But if the price is higher, I'm probably not going to get past that initial hurdle of saying, well, yeah, let's just go. It's $80. I'll just go and do, and we'll see how it is. And if it's a flop for me, then like that's $80 out the window. Whereas if it's $30, okay, I could eat that if it was really bad. I can't eat it all the time, but I could eat that and say, well, maybe. But on the other hand, once I find out that I like it, I've noticed, and again, my only experience with conventions that have done this is TotalCon in the past. And I mean, I haven't been to Council, so I haven't had to experience it there. But I haven't played in games because I've wanted to keep the cost down. So I'll be like, okay, I can get in. I pay X amount to get in, but then I got to buy tickets for all these events, and quickly realized I could be paying a bundle for all these really cool events that look interesting. I want to try that game, a panel, this and that, or whatever. And you're paying every little bit, and it's adding up. Thinking, wow, at the end of the day, I'm paying would be paying $100. So no, I'm not going to do all these other events. I'll go in. And maybe I'll pay to get into one event, and that'll be it. And for me, then it ends up becoming, well, is it end up worth it to even go just for one event? And I guess the answer is it kind of depends on what the event is. So like at Council, I was trying to figure out their website because it's really pretty, great design and good colors and everything. But I had trouble actually kind of coming across how do you register? Where's the event list? And it turned out I had to do a little bit of digging, not a whole lot, but just kind of a tiny bit of digging. And they have a ton of events that they did this year. You mentioned the Star Trek thing because of the 50th anniversary. I think they did some Starfleet battles. I think I saw
Yeah, I
big
think they
D&D
do that every
thing.
year.
Your Move Games did a lot of the Battleground stuff there. In Are you familiar with any of their Battleground series of games?
Not really. I think I played Battleground a few times, but I'm
They
not.
have two versions of it. One's historical and one's fantasy, and
Yeah, I
it's
played the
card based.
historical. Yeah, I played the historical quite a few times actually. Still don't have a clue how to play it, but when you have a GM that knows what's going on, it's not really a problem, you know. So I've had a lot of fun playing that system actually.
A handful of years back, they had a larger presence at TotalCon, and so I ended up having a lunch meeting with the owner of Your Move, and he explained. Don't ask me to explain it to anyone, but he explained how you play, and he showed me the game, and he gave me some review copies of stuff, and so like I have them. They look gorgeous. The artwork is really nice, and it seems like just the sort of thing that's great for someone like me who doesn't really get around to paint stuff or anything. So I think it would work for that, and it's easy. You buy whatever you want. You can pack them into a small space. So if you are in an apartment or a condo or just don't have a lot of room, you can do that. And then you can bring it with you to convention. So I was excited to see that they were listed as I think it's called a signature event at Council. And I was also excited to see some of the vendors that I know, like Foam Brain Games. I've seen them again at TotalCon, Quigley's Cakes.
Yeah, she gets around. Yeah, she was there.
Well, she's from New York somewhere, I think.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you know, I haven't really got to know her that well, but I like her cakes though.
Yeah, the cupcakes are really good and nice
Yeah.
theming. One of the things I love about them is a lot of the times when, and it might sound odd that we're talking about cupcakes when it's a wargaming podcast, but it's
They're
important.
corn cupcakes though.
Well, and really, if you look at wargamers and you look at like the size that they are, and I can say this because I am such one, you don't look that way without eating cupcakes or something like it, right?
I'm way over my limit of cupcakes. I have to admit.
But all their cupcakes, normally when you get something that's themed like that with all the design and the extra aesthetics that go into to make it look like a dragon or Darth Vader or whatever, they usually end up using fondant because they do it on the cakes and they usually do it on the cupcakes. Fondant and modeling chocolate do not taste very well. I don't care what people say. I don't care how they doctor it up. It doesn't taste good. So I like that they don't do that at Quigley's Cakes. Overwhelmingly, they use frosting. It might be royal icing, it might be buttercream or whatever, but it's different types of frosting. And I think the frosting.
Try the one with the bacon yet?
Do you know what? I love bacon, and yet I can't combine bacon with a cupcake. That's a line I can't cross. It's like people put it in
I
ice
thought the same
cream.
thing until I tried one. I'm
I
telling you, you got to try it.
like the Cthulhu one, and she does a chocolate one, and I can't remember the name of it. And I like those. She does these cookies, and I don't know if she had them at council, but they're basically you buy it, I don't know, $1, $5 or something. But they're basically like a GM token where you can give it to the GM like a do over.
The kids have been bribing me at Total Con with those. Very effective.
They're good cookies. And
Yeah, they pretty much get me to do whatever they want.
I would presume that she had them at council. I don't know. Maybe it's a question for her next time I see her, which will be TotalCon. But I liked that they had this array of vendors. It wasn't just say all board gaming or all RPG. Like they had Dark Phoenix Games. They do all those really cool RPG and LARPing events. It wasn't just one thing. It would kind of broaden the appeal. It's great when you have a convention that is focused on it's one specific thing so that people who are really into it can go. But with wargamers, I think we're such a diverse crowd that you can't just be like, okay, it's only historical, it's only board games, it's only RPG, whatever. Yeah, I think you really need to kind of spread out, but not too far. Because if you go too far afield, then I think you lose what your convention's about. And it seems like that's something that council has managed to do really well, just based
I think
on
so.
things you've told me and from their website that they have a little bit of taste of this and that, but they still hold true to their core.
Well, they pretty much have a little bit of everything covered. All these cons, you know, they do what they do, and you know, you and I like the historical stuff probably more than anything else. But I don't even run historical that much anymore. I still feel like I'm a historical guy. But you know, you gotta be a little bit open to different things. some cons like say Huzzah, that I think of that one as in Havoc of being predominantly historical, but they don't boot me out just because I'm doing something a little different than everybody else is, So that's what I love about those guys. They'll let you get away with murder.
This I don't. I'm not quite sure how to say this so that it doesn't come across as if I'm insulting someone or not, but
they'll let us know.
we will. The listeners are not
Sure.
shy. So when it comes to Huzzah, I love Huzzah.
Me too.
I'm going to talk. I have an announcement about Huzzah to make later on in the episode. But when it comes to them, I get really intimidated at the idea of running anything there because everyone who goes there, from the people who run it to the people who run games there, they are so knowledgeable about all the details for every single aspect of these historical events that they're running. They're all inspired by real things. They've done their homework. They're pros. They could teach classes in this stuff, right?
Oh, some of those guys are teachers.
Exactly. And the tables look immaculate. The models are, as far as I can tell, historically accurate to every detail. And then here comes me, right, where I'm like, it doesn't matter. As long as the uniforms are sort of the right color and the people, I'm okay with whatever. I'm very forgiving with that kind of stuff, especially for a historical gamer. I'm not going to be counting the rivets or the buttons and making sure your facings are the right color. I know it matters to some people. I know it's important in the real thing. I understand that. But for me on the tabletop, it's not my purpose. So if I was to come, I would feel like I wasn't good enough for the convention and for the people. And so because of that, I don't run things there. And I've talked about this
I
with.
don't think you need to worry about that. Those guys, they hold themselves to a certain standard, but they accept guys like you and me doing the thing that we do. I mean, we're the kind of guys that get people interested in the hobby. If some of these games these guys play, I wouldn't play. I'm just too intimidated. The rules, oh my god, it's like, what are you kidding me? If you're not gonna hold my hand to play this game, I'm never gonna get through the whole session. But they like. I think those guys like the idea that the stuff that we do gets the younger crowd involved in the hobby, and then maybe they'll step it up at some point, and they'll be playing some of these really historical and beautifully modeled games. I'm pretty sure that at some point in time, I know I have kids playing in my game or used to play in my game that have stepped it up and they're into other things now. And I think that's what it's all about, at least for me.
I'm sure you're right. Just for whatever reason, I feel like I can't because it doesn't meet the level for them. But yet, and this is why I said I wasn't quite sure how to say it.
Those guys are the best. They're not gonna.
I mean, they're wonderful.
The Havoc guys too. The Havoc guys, they're the same way. They if they're putting it on the table, they definitely hold themselves to a particular standard, and I love them for that. But they're not gonna put a damper on your game just because it isn't to the standards of what their standards are, and that just makes those people even deeper into my gaming heart to love those guys, all those guys. They just they let you do your thing. They're not gonna criticize you. I mean, there's always a couple of people out there that are gonna be critical, but who gives a crap about
them anyway? This is the thing that might come across as me insulting people, though. I have no. I have no. It's not that. I don't think that's insulting. That I feel I'm not good enough. The thing that might be insulting, and it's not meant this way at all, is that I have no problem running any of those kind of games at TotalCon. And the reason is because TotalCon is not a historical gaming convention. Havoc is, Huzzah is. They might have other things, but in my mind, they build themselves as such as historical wargaming conventions.
Well, they are.
TotalCon is a tabletop convention. So I always think of TotalCon as being a board game and role-playing game convention, one in which a lot of historical gamers like to go because they want to play other things. And so because of that, I feel like the bar is set lower for me so that I can work with people who know more than I do, which honestly doesn't take a lot, but who are better at it. And we can put something out that I feel does justice at TotalCon. It does justice to the con and to us and to the gamers, but that wouldn't be good enough for something like a Huzzah. And so in a way, I almost feel like I'm insulting TotalCon, but I'm not trying to. It's not meant that way.
well, maybe somebody thinks that you are, but I don't think you are at all. I completely agree with that statement. But then on the other hand, I don't think that a con like, they just like the idea of having plenty of games for people to play. And some of these guys or women bring their kids, and it's kind of nice to have a game that you can let your kid play and you go play a game. So I don't think they have a problem with something that maybe isn't so difficult that your nose bleeds just playing it. I mean, just how about something simple once in a while? And I think they do. I think they're okay with that. I know they are. They would have booted me out of there a long time ago.
I want to.
They'd find a way to. They'd find a way to squeeze me out. But they don't. They don't. They just they just love people that game. You don't have to be perfect. Because those guys they put the really cool stuff out there anyway. You know what I mean? There's plenty of stuff for all the adults to play. So, I mean, the kids need to have something to play too. We're providing something that everybody's not providing. I think.
I want to go on
Why not,
record
Jonathan?
as saying that I love Huzzah, I love Havoc, and I love Total Con all equally and for different reasons. It's just I don't want people to think that I'm trying to slight anyone. It's just
I know you're not trying to do that.
it,
Well, it's just you would you just feel more comfortable running your game at Total Con. I understand that, but take a chance. What the heck? You'll be at well, you always do stuff at that con too. Anyway, besides running, you're gonna be doing your show, and you kind of got your hands full anyway.
and that's part of it too with Huzzah. It's tricky because part of the way that it works for me, and this kind of plugs into that whole Wargamer dad vibe I've been kind of doing this year with the show, is that it tends to fall on or around my wedding anniversary.
I know.
I'm
remember you at my table telling me you were up there
well
at the same time.
I
remember.
I still don't know how or why my wife agreed to go the first year or the second year we went, when it was literally on our wedding anniversary, but she was willing and happy, and I am grateful. And it's not always on it, but it's close to it now. And so what we do is we kind of turn it into a family vacation, so that half of my time is spent at the convention playing, doing things, covering it, and all that kind of stuff, and the other half is spent with my wife and now my daughter. And we'll do stuff. We might not actually get to go out because it's hard, as you know, with small children, but we'll go to like a lighthouse, or we'll maybe get into Portland itself and walk around and see some stuff. And so since I basically have half that time, and it ends up being like half a Saturday, half a Friday kind of thing, where I'm spending with the family, I lose out on a lot of gaming time, and I'm okay with that, partly because it makes it work, but I enjoy spending time with my family, of course. And
well,
so
yeah,
then
the reason she lets you do that is because you're married to a great woman, just like I am.
she's wonderful. I am so blessed.
You don't want to mess that up.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And then the time I'm there, I could be running stuff, and it would be great, I'm sure, maybe. But if I'm playing and stuff, that gives me more to talk about. So whenever I go to a convention, I try to build in a lot of free time so that I have plenty of time to kind of walk around, check out the vendor room, see some people, do some pickup games, but then also have a lot of just space so I can record, I can do whatever, and get coverage for an episode of the show. In Huzzah, that doesn't happen as much. So that's why I built in part, the recording at Huzzah. And actually, maybe we should just move forward and start talking. Why is my computer funky? And start talking about this, because that's the next section. I was going to move into our mailbag section of the show, but this kind of leads right into it, actually. So we've had some feedback about recent episodes, and one of them actually kind of leads into, well, and I suppose I'll start with this, kind of leads into an announcement I want to make that pertains to Huzzah. And you and I were talking earlier, it hit me that with all the conventions you go to, and with the ones I go to, and the ones we both go to, we go to a lot of conventions. I think it's like 7 or 8 New England or Mid-Atlantic gaming conventions that we go to in a year. That's a
I would
lot.
I would go to more if I could.
It's pricey, and the
Yeah, well,
time. I
that's
mean,
that's an issue. Doesn't mean I don't
even if
want to do it.
no, and it's true. I mean, I would love to go to more too.
Yeah,
Inevitably, you had mentioned about it was hard with council being, not on the holiday weekend that you had to go to work on the Monday.
right.
I've learned I need to take some time off right around it. So usually I take the Friday before for some of these because then I like going to Maine. We go to Maine on Friday to try to avoid some of the traffic. So we leave early. So I get to take the Friday off. Or going to Total Con, I take a Friday off. Going to Havoc, which is the only other one I go to, I go for a day. So it doesn't matter so much. But like I need to take a day before or a day after off because otherwise I can't do it. It's a lot. So I don't know how you went, did everything, all
Well,
that
I
driving. And
yeah, I like to do that, but it's it just it depends on what's going on. My work is kind of seasonal, so I don't like to take the time off from work. But then on the other hand, I like gaming a lot more than I like working. So sometimes I'll just say, hey, I'll see you. I'm going to game, and I don't worry about work. Worry about it later.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, not to my wife, it isn't.
Well, do you know, I love my job. I work with great people. I do interesting stuff. And yet it's not the same. It's not as much fun as not being there.
But I hate to miss them. Sometimes like one time I had the flu. I gotta go and infect everybody, so you stay home. But short of that, I'm going. You know.
So I had mentioned that we had some feedback about some
Oh yeah.
recent episodes. So from Twitter, listener Jay had remarked,
Twitter. What the hell's that?
Jay?
What's Twitter?
Oh, that's right, because you're not technologically savvy. I
Yeah,
forget.
I have a little bit of a clue. I don't really want to know. Let's not go there.
So Twitter, for those who do want to know but don't know, Twitter is like Facebook, except you have 140 characters, spaces, periods, letters in which you can convey a message, and you put that out to other people who are on Twitter. Uh, I'm on Twitter for the show. I don't honestly do much of anything on there because I don't have the time. But one of our listeners is on there. He's on Facebook too, listener Jay. He's been listening for a long time. And our last episode, Mike, we had talked about like the whole co-host thing, and I couldn't remember who had said, "Oh, you should have a co-host or a bunch of co-hosts or whatever," and just kind of rotate people. And I was like, I think it was Jay. Well, it turns out it was Jay because Jay had posted on Twitter and he said, "Quote, yep, it was me that suggested a co-host. Thanks for the shout out." He also is kind of doing
Thanks,
something
Jay.
cool. Well, he is. I've wanted you on the show a lot longer than he had suggested it, but he's one of the reasons why I kind of got up the nerve to just say, "Do you have the free time to do such a thing?" So I'm very thankful of Jay and his suggestion.
Yeah, I wish I was free to do it all the time. Maybe it might not be too bad. Get me on here once in a while.
It's only every other week.
Yeah, I know, but things are going on all the time around here. So
That's true.
most of the things that I'm putting off, so that it just gets worse.
He's doing something cool though that I think people will like. So Jay is very accomplished with a lot of things, and a new thing he wants to tackle is podcasting. So he's created his own show. It's called The Veteran Wargamer. It's on iTunes, and he's going to be discussing wargaming. And he's also a vet, so he's going to talk about veterans issues as well. And I have not listened to it yet, but I know he has 1 or 2 episodes out. So I'm going to subscribe. I'm suggesting that everyone else give it a listen. And if you like it, and I hope you will, that you subscribe to it too. I'll have a link in the show notes. It's on iTunes, so you can search for it, but just use the link that I'll have in the show notes. It'll make everyone's life a lot easier.
I'll use the link. I don't want to search for it.
Yeah, the link, it's easy. Like, why go and you go into iTunes and you're like, oh, how do you spell that? And is it 1 word, 2 word? What do I do? Just click the link. I mean, make life easy, right?
Sounds good to me.
Jay's also really cool, not just because he's doing this, but also he's a big fan of Henry Hyde, like I am. And so he's been spending a lot of time using Henry's rules to do, it's like Henry's version of Black Powder, but he's doing all sorts of gaming with that. And so he spends a lot of time with it, and he's getting his kids involved with it. And it's just, I love what Jay's working on. And Jay keeps things very interesting and exciting. And he is also, like me, a lover of Henry's Wars of the Faltanian Succession. So that if people aren't familiar, you should get a copy. I'll try to remember to put a link in the show notes. But that's kind of a really cool bit of writing that Henry did on how you can do what he calls an imagination, where you can kind of do like a quasi historical sort of like what you do, Mike, with Hang High. It's like your pretend world.
You got me buying into it already. It sounds good to me.
It's great, and it's something I recommend. So Jay has a love of that as well, and that's kind of how he and I think originally connected, if I'm remembering. And if I'm wrong or right, I'm hoping, Jay, that you will correct me. And then on Facebook, which is something, Mike, I know you are familiar with, we got a few little bits of feedback here that I want to mention. So listener Pedro said of episode 168, quote, "The mayor of Shanghai would be a great plus to any convention," unquote. I completely agree with you, Pedro. And that's why I'm delighted that Mike's here on the show. He's a great plus, not to just to any convention, but to any show that you come on to, Mike. It's a true joy.
He speaks at Historicon and sometimes on subjects that I'm really interested in. So I kind of miss going down there just to listen to him talk.
Oh, you'll have to go.
Terrific guy. Yeah, I want to get down there again. I love Historicon anyway, but it's just that's a long haul.
It is a huge long haul, and then they moved it too. So
yeah, I want to get down there to Fredericksburg at least one more time. I didn't even see the battlefield last time I was there. I like to see battlefields too.
Me too. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they are cool.
And then this next bit of feedback kind of leads into an announcement that I'm going to make. So listener Gabriel also said on Facebook of episode 168, which was our Hobby Bunker Game Day 2016 episode. He said, quote, "Please update the intro support ad so it publicizes Huzzah 2017. Really enjoyed listening to you both chatting away. Cheers," unquote. So Gabriel, thank you for your feedback. And Gabriel and I have spoken privately, separately about this. So for people who don't know, the announcement I was waiting to make, but the cat came out of the bag a little early, is that I'm very delighted to say that the Maine Historical Wargamers Association has agreed to renew their sponsorship for Wargaming Recon. And so because of that, they help to keep the show on the air, which is great because it's not cheap doing this. And so their financial contribution is a huge boon for that. And then it's also how I get to go to Huzzah, and I'll be there, and I know you're going to be there, Mike, and I'll be doing a live recording at Huzzah. And Mike, I know you tend to be busy, so I'm probably going to co-opt someone else to come on the show for that episode to chat. But I can officially announce that MHWA and Huzzah are sponsors, and it's actually great that Gabriel pointed it out. And as I mentioned to him, I'm liable to make mistakes at any point in the process. There's a lot of things that go to make the show happen, and I wouldn't have put it past me to just have messed that up. But it turned out in this case, I was really just kind of waiting for all the T's to be crossed and the I's to be dotted, to get all the paperwork done and make everything nice and official. But it turns out Gabriel's actually a member of MHWA. And so they have this annual membership meeting where they talk about this kind of stuff. And that's where they vote on things and who the officers are going to be and all that sort of stuff. So he knew about the support for sponsoring the show again because of being a member. And so from what I understand, he was like, "We said we're going to do it, so why aren't you doing it?" And I like that excitement. I really do. And
well, it just makes us love those guys even more than if that's possible.
They are, I mean, I can't say enough nice things about them. It's not possible. And not just because they're paying for me to say nice things. It's because I wouldn't say nice things if I didn't believe in them and if I didn't like them.
Yeah, none of this would happen. Really have anything to do with it. We just love those guys. It's just a great call.
And do you know what? It's actually the other way around. It's because it's a great convention and they're wonderful people that the sponsorship exists. And I think because of that, with both sides, we've gotten to know each other better and gotten to like each other. So they like the show and I like them. And that's why this has come together. And even if there was an approach and I didn't believe in what was going on, I wouldn't have accepted the agreement. I would have been like, "No, thank you for the offer, but no thanks," because I've turned people down before. But MHWA, I think, is a perfect fit. I think they're great to sponsor the show, and I love talking about them. I would talk about them whether they sponsored the show or not. Shh, don't tell them, but I would.
I'm not going to say a word. You know, I wouldn't do that.
I know no one's gonna say, but I was very much humbled when I heard from them that they wanted to sponsor the show again, and that they were just really happy with how things had worked out. And I know one of the things that was specifically pointed out was that they loved the quality of the ad that I had done. And it's a simple little thing. It's just saying, you're listening to this episode, you can hear it at the end of the episode because it's in there now. But it just says when the convention is and to go and how wonderful it is. And they like the quality of that. They said that it sounds like I really care and that I really like the convention. And both things are true. I love the convention and the people, and it's wonderful. So I'm very thankful, and I'm excited that this partnership can continue. And so they help to make it possible.
Oh yeah, well, I hope we get to go for a long time before. I don't ever want to see that thing stop. For that matter. We should give Gabriel a little plug. He's got I think a blog and a Facebook page, Tabletop Titans, and they got some pretty cool stuff on there. He's gave me I don't know if this is on his site or not, but he gave me a great idea for building a jungle. Hopefully you'll see it on my table someday. But he's got some pretty cool stuff on there.
See, I was not aware, and now I am. And that's what's great about this hobby. You have all these little kind of connections that get made, and then they get bigger and stronger over time, and you learn more about people, and someone might have a need for something or know something, and then you just kind of fit them together like puzzle pieces so that we all make each other stronger and better when we have these connections and form these bonds, and it's wonderful. We shouldn't be doing this on our own. You got to get out there and form these friendships.
Get a lot of help from people. Matter of fact, that Barbarians group that I do, I would never have thought of doing that if it wasn't for Steve Parento from TotalCon. He's the one that asked me, goes, "Hey, you ever gonna do anything?" And I was like, "Do what?" And no intentions of having a group. Now I check on it every day to see if anybody posted anything, or I'll post some crap on my own.
It's one of my favorite Facebook groups.
Yeah, it's not a very big one, but if it got too big, I think it would be hard to manage anyway. But it's fun.
No, it's large enough.
Cool stuff,
People are always busy and interesting and have fun things to say and things to share. It's a really good group and a nice group of people too, actually.
Yeah, and I like to share, stuff from one group to another group too, just to, keep the information floating around so people can use it if they want to. Just get a kick out of what somebody else is doing, looking at pictures and getting ideas for the hobby. There's no lack of ideas for this hobby. I've been able to tell, which is just the way I like it.
Well, we should also take a moment to thank our Patreon backers too, because the sponsorship is half the battle, right? There's a certain budget necessary for the show, and the sponsorship makes a big dent in it, no doubt in it. But by in and of itself, it wouldn't be enough. And so the Patreon backers, just listeners like you guys, are the other major piece to the puzzle. It's the PBS model, right? So that you like the show, you get enjoyment out of it, you some sort of value, and you want to support it. And you can do so for as little as $1 per month. It gets you episodes before non-backers, and you get behind-the-scenes content. It might be a blog post, a video, an audio, something excerpted from an episode, maybe a blooper or something, just something kind of cool and fun to give you a little more complete picture of what goes into making Wargaming Recon. And one of the reward levels that you can choose is one where you're thanked by name on episodes of the show. So I want to make sure that I thank our Patreon backers, Dave in the War Games at Battle Shades Facebook group, Patrick, Chris Parker from dayofbattlegames.com, and Kyle from Vermont. And I want to remind everyone, whether you are currently a Patreon backer or going to become a new Patreon backer, I have a survey that I sent out to all Patreon backers about potential new reward levels. Take a couple moments of your time, fill it out. It's like 2 or 3 questions, and it just kind of gives me some input on what you might like to see as new reward levels and things that I can do to make available to all of you. So some feedback on that would be great. And we are really close, actually, Mike, to reaching our next reward level. We've met a few of them. and we're, I think, $28 away from the next reward level, and that will allow me to get some new equipment so we can do some recordings in person with people at conventions and things like that. So that's just,
Gotta get
we're
some more
close. We're really
listeners.
close.
Yeah, you're almost there. That's good.
A little bit goes a long way. And then I want to make sure that people are aware about this event that's coming up for me and for a lot of people, actually. It's a very popular fundraiser for a charity. It's the Extra Life 24-hour Gameathon, and they've been doing it for, and this will be my 5th year of doing it. It actually takes place on November 5, 2016, and what it is a bunch of people like you and I, people who are gamers, like video gamers and board gamers and more gamers and everything. We all get together, and on that day, we spend 24 hours playing games. And by doing this, we're trying to raise money for local children's hospitals. The charity Extra Life takes all these monies that it raised and they spread them out to the hospital so that kids who are in need of medical treatment but don't have the money to pay for it can still get that medical treatment. Some of these kids are fighting cancer. They're fighting really scary diseases, and their families just don't have the money. And I don't think anyone should be told that they can't get the medical help that they need because they can't afford it. And it's rotten. And I can't imagine what it must feel like for parents to be like, my kid has cancer and we can't afford for them to go, so we can't bring them in for them to get the stuff. And this charity helps with that. So this year, I'm trying to raise $250. We've already gotten some donations. We've raised 35 so far. Have a way to go, and I'm sure we'll meet the goal. In past years, we've met and exceeded the goal. If you're able to donate, please do so. You can do it online at wargamingrecon.com/charity. If you know me in person, you can give me cash or a check, but online is the best way. It's tax deductible. And in addition with this, I'm going to be doing some cool eBay charity auctions. So some listeners have kind of helped to get this really going, and I'm more formalizing it this year. So there's going to be 2 or 3, I think, eBay charity auctions for painted minis and different things. And the first one will be live on October 10th, 2016. So please bid generously because the proceeds from that will then go directly to the charity to help raise money for these kids in need. And that's what I have. I know.
I'll have to dig up something for you to auction off, Jonathan. I'll find something.
Cool. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, remind me about that, and I'll see what I can dig up.
Every little bit helps. It really does. It makes a difference in these kids' lives. And like I said, I've been doing it. This is my 5th year. And so far, I think I've raised over $1,000 or $1,500 or something like that. In a couple of years in a row, Children's Hospital actually had reached out to me because I'm part of the Troll in the Corner team. And our team was one of the top fundraisers for a few years in a row. And so like their head of fundraising or whatever, development, whatever they call it, had reached out with a personal phone call just to say thank you and talk about some of the things that the money goes for. And it makes a huge difference. It might not seem like a lot, there's so many things out there that we would love, all of us, I'm sure, to give money to help out. And you can't. But I mean, even $1 makes a difference to these kids. And, how can you say no? It's not for me. It's not for you, Mike. It's for the kids. And just,
yeah, well, it should be pretty easy to just come up with something that can be auctioned off. I'm sure I can come up with something.
Well, so that's what I have going on. I know you got some conventions coming up. You're going to be going to Carnage and Ellis Con, and both of them are in November, right?
That's right. They're almost back to back. I'm a little worried about how worn out I'll be, but I'm willing to take that chance. Why not?
I think you will do just fine.
Well, I'm planning on doing just fine, but you never know. We'll see. But beats working. That's all I know.
That is very true. And then if listeners want to know what's coming down the pipe for the show, you can check out our episode guide. There'll be a link in the show notes, and that just lets you know when new episodes are coming out and their topics and guests and all that kind of stuff. So I can say, because I'm looking at it right now, and as long as I didn't mess it up, and I don't think I did, I can tell people that we have some cool stuff coming up. Going to be talking about our I was about to say Hobby Bunker Game Day, but we just did that one. We're going to be doing our holiday gift guide for 2016. That'll be out near the end of November. And then beginning of December is actually when I'll do the podcast episode. about the Extra Life 24-hour Gamerthon, and that'll be the last new episode for the year. But in between, we have a couple more episodes coming up in October and beginning of November. So people should check out that episode guide. It's the best place to see what's new and what's going on. And then I just want to apologize in advance to everyone because I will be spamming all of the Wargaming Recon social media presences, Facebook and Twitter and everything, about the Extra Life Gamerthon charity. So my apologies, because you're going to see a lot of things about what we're raising and what's going on with it, and imploring people for donations. When it's over, we won't be spamming people anymore, I promise. But there'll be a lot of activity.
It's good spam.
I think so.
Sure.
Well, that's all I have for today's episode, Mike. Did you have any other things you wanted to share with the listeners for today?
I just wanted to mention, we might be talking about it after it gets done, but there is that Fort Devon's game day coming up, the 15th of October. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and actually, I'm hoping, I think you said you would be busy on the day we would record this, but I'm hoping that I can talk about it on an upcoming episode and just trying to wrangle a guest for it. So someone who, because I won't be able to be there, but someone who will be there to actually kind of share some of the ins and outs of it. So I have to make the approach and see what the person says who I have in mind, and I don't want to out them beforehand in case they're not able to do it. But
maybe I'll do that.
So, so we'll see. But it'd be fun to talk about it because I know it's been going on for a few years, and I never get to get out there though.
It's just fallen on the wrong weekend every time for me. This time I can make it, so I'm gonna go.
Awesome! I bet you'll have a great time.
I'm looking forward to it. Should be some good games.
Cool. Well, I think that's the episode for all of us. So don't forget, there's a lot of stuff we talked about in this show. We talked a lot about Council of Five Nations and other conventions and the Extra Life Gamerthon charity. You don't have to remember all of it. You guys listen when you're commuting and you're painting and you're exercising and at work and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot to take in, but you only have to remember this one thing: the link to the show notes. You can get them by going to wargamingrecon.com/WR169. That's wargamingrecon.com/WR169. And I believe that sums everything up for us. So no matter how busy you are, no matter what's going on, what you have on your agenda, you know that you have to, you need to keep on gaming.